If you are not planning to pay for an upgraded seat and you will be flying in economy, then here are some tips to choose the best seat for your flight. Let's start by weighing the benefits and the drawbacks of the aisle, window, and middle seats. New flyers and leisure travelers tend to want window seats for the views. Window seats are also great for leaning against the side of the plane to sleep, and you also don't have to get up and get out of the way for other passengers. You do also have control of the window shade, although many planes these days don't even have a window shade and instead just have a tinted window. Window seats also tend to be colder than the aisle seats. For me, that's a con, but let us know down in the comments if you think a colder spot on the plane would be a benefit or a drawback. Aisle seats are beneficial since you can get up anytime without having to ask someone. This gives you flexibility to use the washroom, stretch, or even take a walk around. You also have full access to your items in the overhead bin at any time. You can even lean into the aisle or stretch out your legs in the aisle, assuming no one is trying to pass by. And while you don't have the side of the plane to lean on to sleep if you are sitting in an aisle seat, many of the planes these days actually do have a headrest that you can move, so you can bend the side of it and then lean your head on that. Sitting in an aisle seat also makes it easier to ask the flight attendants questions when they come by, but the downside to the aisle is that you will likely need to get up for those beside you, and the flight attendant will be reaching over you to serve those in the middle or on the window side. Something else to consider would be that you are probably at a higher chance of getting sick if you do sit in the aisle, as you are exposed to more people around you. And on to the final choice, the middle seat. Nobody wants the middle seat, ever. I suppose the one benefit of having the middle seat is that there's an unspoken rule that whoever is sitting in the middle is going to have access to both of the armrests. But again, since this is an unspoken rule, most passengers don't know about it, so it's not really a benefit in the end. In addition to where you sit in a row of seats, you may also want to consider your location of your seat on the plane. Sitting at the front of the plane means you will probably get on and off first. Getting on first means you won't have to fight for overhead bin space. But in my opinion, it's getting off the plane first that is the biggest benefit of sitting at the front of the plane, especially if you have a tight connection. If you have another flight to catch and you have limited time, being the first one off the plane could actually make or break the difference of whether or not you catch your next flight. It's also nice to be the first one off the plane if you do have to go through customs or immigration, as you will be at the front of the lineup. However, the front of the plane does tend to be colder than the back of the plane, and it also tends to fill up first. Assuming you are not on a full flight, the front tends to have more people in it than the back will. If you are a nervous flyer or if you suffer from any case of motion sickness, you're probably going to want to aim to sit in the center of the plane. By sitting over the wings, you're going to experience the least amount of turbulence of any other spots on the plane. The further away you sit from the wings, the more noticeable the turbulence will be, with the back of the plane being the most turbulent. So the back of the plane does tend to have the most turbulence, and you can also be disturbed by the flight attendants that hang out near the back or other passengers that are heading back to use the washroom. The washroom could also emit some unpleasant odors. Some additional downsides to being at the back of the plane would be that you are going to be the last one off the plane, which could make those tight connections even more difficult to catch your next flight. You also could end up being in a longer lineup at the airport, given you will be at the back of any lines. There are probably fewer people at the back, which gives you a better chance at getting a row to yourself and just having fewer disturbances from other passengers being noisy or turning on lights. You'll also have first dibs at using the washroom, as well as the attention of the flight attendants that are probably going to be nearby. On long-haul international flights, there is often also a free snack and drink station at the back of the plane for you to check out. And fun fact, Popular Mechanics did a study and concluded that those sitting at the back of the plane have the highest chance of surviving in the case of a plane crash. Sounds pretty good. If you do decide to opt for a seat near the back of the plane, definitely refrain from choosing the very last row of seats, as these seats often don't recline, meaning you are stuck sitting upright the entire flight. Very uncomfortable. When selecting your seat, you'll also need to consider whether you sit on the right side or the left side of the plane. In my early travel days, I didn't think this mattered, but it does. If you intend to sleep on the plane, then choose a window seat on the side of the plane that you would normally sleep on. If you'd like to get some work done on the plane, whether that be with a laptop or with a pen and paper, then consider sitting on the side of the plane that is your non-dominant side. So for example, if you are right-handed like I am, you may want to sit on the left side of the plane. This way, as you're working on your laptop, you have mobility of your arm by being able to reach it into the aisle side. If you do happen to be ambidextrous and you don't have a preference for your sleeping side or your working side, consider selecting a seat on the right side of the plane, as it's usually going to be less busy than the left side. This is because most languages are read from left to right, so the majority of people online selecting a seat are going to be drawn to the left side of the seat map before making their way to the right side of the seat map. In a case like this, the left side of the plane tends to be more full. You may also want to take bulkhead and exit row seats into consideration when selecting where you sit. Bulkhead seats are the seats behind a wall, so it means there's no one sitting in front of you that's going to be reclining back into your space. These seats probably have the tray table built into the armrest, and sometimes that means the armrest is not able to lift up. Something else with these seats is that the wall might infringe on your leg space, but more often than not, you end up with more legroom than a traditional economy seat would have. Something else to consider is that since there is a wall in front of bulkhead seats, there is no place in front of you to store your personal items or bags. This means that all of your bags and your items must go in the bin overhead. I'm generally not a fan of these seats. As for exit row seats, these tend to have the most legroom of other standard economy seats because there needs to be a distance between the seat and the seat in front of it so people can make their way through in the case of an evacuation. Sitting in the exit row by the window is probably going to be the coldest spot on the plane, and selecting the seat may also cost you extra. It's also good to know that seats directly in front of the exit row are not going to recline, which means this is probably one of the worst places you could sit, apart from the very back of the plane, which also doesn't recline. A great resource to figure out what is going to be the best seat on the plane for your particular flight would be using the free tool SeatGuru. I always check SeatGuru before picking a seat. It shows the exact seating chart for the plane that you will be flying on and tells you which seats are the best and which are the worst. SeatGuru will even show you bad seats that you otherwise would not think are bad, like that seat in front of the exit row that isn't going to recline. I'll always check the seat map on SeatGuru before I fly, and it's actually influenced where my favorite place to sit on the airplane tends to be. When I just started traveling, I was always opting for the window seat. Not anymore. Now I will almost never take the window seat unless I don't intend to get up at all during the flight and the flight is maybe 2 hours or less. If the flight is going to be longer than 2 hours, I am definitely opting for an aisle seat. More specifically, I will be opting for an aisle seat that is 3/4 of the way back in the plane. It's near the back, so it's going to be slightly less busy than the front of the plane, but it's not at the very back where I'm going to be bothered by flight attendants moving around and people using the washroom and also getting any of those washroom smells. I do like to be close to the back though, so I can still get a good shot at using the washroom anytime that I need it. And also, this might sound kind of strange, but I like to be able to see all the people in front of me and kind of know what's going on. I don't like being near the front and having everything happening behind me. Is that strange? And to take it a step further, I'm going to opt for the left side of the plane so that if I do decide to work on my laptop, I have that additional arm room by extending my right arm into the aisle. I hope this video has helped you to decide where you will sit on your next flight. Let us know down in the comments if you are an aisle, window, or middle, strange, kind of person. And then don't forget to subscribe so you can join us back here for more travel tips and hacks next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.